everyone. You know what time it is. It's New York Giants Trade Talk. I'm Tim, and we got a little bit to talk about today. We had the owners meeting. We have the salary cap issues that the Giants are still kind of having that some people want to talk about and some people don't want to talk about. I want to talk about it because you know what? I like numbers. I like math. Math is fun. Not really. Before I get into the owners meeting and some of the things that Schoen, Dable, and Maris said, I kind of want to talk about the salary cap and where the Giants are exactly at. And it's taken them a while now, and it's season right now, and it's going to be a second season, but they need to still pull themselves out of the salary cap issue because there is still a salary cap issue. Mr. Gettleman has put us in a situation, has put us in a cap purgatory for a little bit, and Schoen has been doing his very, very level-headed best to dig himself out. There are some moves that have been questionable in reference to post-June 1st cuts and things such as that we've seen over the last, 15, 16 months. But he's been doing a really good job accentuating what the Giants need to do, trying to build from the draft and try to find the talent. The problem is the Giants still just are not there cap-wise. They're not. And everyone talks about everything they did in free agency and all the money they spent and how at one point in time we had the third most money in free agency. But the only problem was with that is we didn't have our quarterback or running back signed. And once we did, that money dropped exponentially. And we're kind of in the same situation that we were in last year. And if you take a look at the salary cap numbers, and this should be a little frightening for some people. I have to pull up the numbers myself because I don't have my spreadsheet up because I'm being very unprofessional today. While I'm pulling this up, we'll just let everyone know we have a new partner. It's going to be Aurora VPN. We'll have a sponsored, partnered video for Aurora VPN out next week. So make sure you stay tuned for that. We're also going to have a little bit of a little perk for those that are online Big Blue New York Giants Straight Talk listeners, our viewers, and all that fun stuff. But if you take a look at the Giants salary cap right now, the way it's constructed, the way it's built, everything, if we go by the rule of 51, and we don't need to go over the rule of 51 because we've gone over it ad nauseum, it basically means only the top 51 contracts count against the salary cap until camp breaks. And then you have to have the full 53 contracts that count towards the salary cap. And right now, if you look at cap space, I have us about, with the rule of 51, I have us about 3.5 million in available cap space. Now, what gets dangerous is once you go and look at the estimated cap space for the entirety without the rule of 51, we're coming in at the negatives. You could be coming in anywhere between -$9 to $13 million. And if you look at the way the roster is set up, there's only certain things that you can do to maneuver or to make these maneuvers in reference to keeping the season flowing. Now, the problem is this, and we've talked about this before. Joe Schoen has already said many times he wants to have at least $10 million in operational cap space. So that means you potentially would have to clear $23 million after camp breaks with this roster. And I'm going to pull up the rosters like we've done before. And the problem is this. If you take a look at the way the roster is constructed, you have the Leonard Williams contract on top. We're not getting out of Leonard Williams contract. We're not moving on with that. We can't move on from that. It's taken up $14.5 million. Mara came out during the owners meeting and said it's up to Joe Schoen, to do Leonard Williams. We want him to be there. There's the old talk. We want him to be a Giant. He always needs to be a Giant. He should be a Giant. But the problem is this: he knows it's going to be up to Joe Schoen. Now, Joe Schoen, I have said this a million times before because everyone's like, well, to get more cap space, all we need to do is restructure the Leonard Williams contract. The Leonard Williams contract is an albatross. It's an anchor. And I've said this a bazillion times. Joe Schoen takes his cap space and he treats it like it's his newborn baby. I don't know if he has a newborn baby. I don't know. But he treats it like a newborn baby. He protects it. And he got pissed last year when he had to give that dead cap number to Leonard Williams in 2024 just to have operational cap space during the season. So what does Schoen come out and says? What did he say when he asked about Leonard Williams? He says if his cap number is high, his cash, he doesn't miss any games. I don't think it's out of whack, Schoen says. We'll try to figure out. But to go one of your better players and say, take a pay cut and you don't have any leverage, you're probably not going to get, it's probably not going to happen. To me, Leonard Williams is not one of our best players on the Giants. I'm sorry, Mr.
King of the almost sack.
Has not approached anywhere with his big 11.5 sack season. He has not approached anywhere. He says, we like Leonard. We haven't had any conversations with him. I know he made the comment about taking a pay cut. It was kind of joked about it, but we haven't approached him about anything. Because he's basically saying in the nice GM way, we don't want to give him, we don't want to have him extend this salary, extend this contract, because we need to get out of this contract before 2024. We need to move on for Leonard Williams because his production does not equal his contract value. And it hasn't the last 2 seasons. So it makes more sense for Schoen, and I've said this before, a coach looks at the season. A general manager looks at the season and 5 years beyond. So Schoen has to look at 5 years beyond what his contracts are. So you're not going to move on. You're not going to do anything with Leonard Williams. The next contract up on it, of course, is going to be Daniel Jones. You're not going to do anything, Daniel Jones. You just signed the contract. The next contract up is Dory Jackson at, Dory Jackson's contract it's a $10 million salary, $19 million cap hit. It's 8.3% of the salary cap. You're probably not going to move on from him either. You're probably going to keep Dory Jackson as well because it doesn't make sense to extend that money out because you're probably going to want to get out from underneath that contract. Because he is another guy. It always cracks me up. When he came out of Tennessee, we were the only. This is the Gettleman thing. This is the thing that makes you sit there and say, at times, what was Gettleman thinking? Because of the fact that he gave a pay raise to a guy coming off an injury, where everyone outside the giant bubble in the NFL says, "Why are you paying this guy more money after coming back from an injury?" His production does not equal his contract value, but you need to get out from underneath it. So he's going to stay as well at the same number. Then you have Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas. You're going to probably extend Dexter Lawrence, but you're not. That's not going to help you this year. Andrew Thomas is you're going to have to worry about next year. The other big number you worry about is Saquon Barkley. Now, Joe Schoen has said at the owners' meeting, they basically haven't talked to Saquon. They haven't said anything. They haven't said anything to Saquon. They haven't had any meaningful conversations with him since he signed the tag. I laugh because we'll have to do another video on. I kind of think the Giants did Saquon a little dirty, and I don't mean Saquon probably should have taken the $12.5 million that was offered to him during the bye week. But for the Giants to pull that contract and say that's no longer available, it's because of the fact that you gave Daniel Jones all the money. My wife said it best, and I laugh because she goes to me today. My wife is a very astute Giant fan. She goes, you want to know why they can't give Saquon Barkley any money? Because they gave all the money to Daniel Jones. And in some ways, that's what I think happened. They gave all the money to Daniel Jones. So you have no money left for Saquon Barkley. So Saquon is good to play out the tag. Saquon could potentially play out the tag for the next 2 years. But I think what's going to happen is the Giants are going to try to find his replacement in this year's draft. And I think what's going to happen is they are going to move forward. And without him in 2024, I get concerned now that the success of Daniel Jones was linked to the success of Saquon Barkley. It's kind of like Dak Prescott early in his career, where Ezekiel Elliott was the reason Dak Prescott was excelling those early years because of the fact that defenses were keen on Ezekiel Elliott. So you're going to have to hope that Daniel Jones steps up big time, because the numbers and the salaries dictate that he is going to have 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, another 500 yards rushing, another 7 touchdowns. You're going to have that. You're paid that money. You are taking money from the rest of the roster. You are going to have to prove that you can win games on your own. So I kind of think they did Saquon dirty, but that's another number we're not going to be able to get out from under. So the salary cap right now is what it is. I mean, that's it. I mean, plain and simple, if you look at it, is what it is. Now, if you look at what the Giants did with free agency, and we're going to pull up the free agency numbers here. You gave Bobby Okereke, hey, Macarena. You gave him the big 4-year, $40 million. You picked up Darius Slayton for an additional $6 million. You gave Paris Campbell the 1.47. You gave the Nachos $3 million. You gave him $6 million year over 3. Then you have a bunch of low end contracts, and this is what the Giants were going to be. And I said this before free agency even started. They're probably going to have one big contract, and the rest are going to be low end guys. You got Jamison Crowder 1 year, 1.3. You got Dole. You got Bobby sitting there at 1.3. And I'm not. I can never pronounce this guy's name from Detroit. You know what? I think it's 1 year, 1.2 million. I cringe a little bit about this guy from Detroit, because I know people I've talked about it before. I know people that live in Detroit. I know people that are huge Lions fans. No one cares. They all say the same thing. He's a press cover corner with no speed. If anyone gets behind him, yikes, forget about it. And that's a bad combination to have when you have a CB2. But then you have, we re-signed a bunch of other guys. You signed Matt Ward, and, you got Davis, you got Sweeney, the big tight end that everyone was all excited about, which I'm not excited about because he only played 5 games last year. It is what it is. It's just another Buffalo retread to me. It's another Madre Harper moment. But this was going to be our free agency because once you sign Saquon Barkley, once you sign Daniel Jones, this was your free agency. This is it. This is what you have. So at the end of the day, the Giants aren't going to move forward with an OBJ reunion because of the fact that they just don't have the money to have an OBJ reunion. There's nothing wrong with that. And you are sitting here being extremely cap heavy when you're looking at your top guys. And I've said this a million times before. You have 4 guys right now, basically 4, technically you use Andrew Thomas and Saquon Barkley, but you have 6 guys right now that are eating up the majority of your cap space. I should have done the math earlier, but let's just do this real quick. Let's just do 14 plus 9 plus 8. Then we're going to do plus 5. Then we're going to do another 8. So you have basically 44% of your cap space being eaten up by Leonard Williams, Daniel Jones, Adoree Jackson, Dexter Lawrence, Andrew Thomas, and Saquon Barkley. You have 44% of your cap being eaten up by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys. So you're still cap heavy. You're not distributed. And then you still have the bad contracts of like Mark Lewinsky, where his cap number is 8 and his dead cap number is 8. So you're not getting that from underneath the Lewinsky contract either. This is a long ball situation. This is him sitting there, Joe Schoen, looking at the validity of what he has contractually and understanding that 2024 is going to be it could potentially be his Chicago Bears year. Of course, Chicago Bears had a silly amount of cap space. It's not going to be as big as that, but 2024 could be that big number. He hits on a building block draft this year, and some of the guys from last year come back from injury, and he has a foundation. He can then start augmenting with mid-level free agents and have the ability to fill out the roster with a competitive talent. And I think that's the game that he is playing. He is playing long ball. He is playing, I have to get this done right, and I have to do it right. And I think we have to look at it that way for Schoen, and we have to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I have been giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to continue to give him the benefit of the doubt. But we're going to go on from there. If you are not an OG member, which is $1.99 a month, become one now. Because today I am releasing the OG member telephone number, text number. It's text only. You can't call me. Sorry, guys. Can't call it. It's just text messages. What you are able to do as an OG member for $1.99 a month, you could text me directly, and I will text you back your thoughts, your feelings, anything New York Giants related. So I want to hear from everyone because we're going to do a new segment. This new segment is going to be called Out of Context. And I'm basically going to take text messages that I got, and I'm going to sit there, and we're basically going to read the best ones and kind of go through it and kind of see exactly, exactly where, what fans are thinking. So I like getting everyone's ideas. I like understanding, I like just talking to people about the Giants. So, make sure when I would launch the number today inside the members chat only, make sure you write it down. Make sure you text me. You know what? And maybe you will be on the next contestant on Out of Context. We're also bringing back On the Mic. That'll be back next week. That'll be fun as well. And I think we're going to be doing the Giant Sunday live stream with Rob, with the R Razor 8 or R Razor B. I should get that name right, but I just call him Rob. So make sure you stay tuned for that. That's going to be 10:30 on Sunday. And you know what, guys? This is Tim. This is New York Giants Straight Talk, and I'm out of here.